Okay, perfect. So today we have one of my favorite people in the world, Stephanie Coates, and she has been a top producing real estate broker in the Eugene area for over 18 years. She started at Keller Williams Realty in 2006 at the age of 18 and has since built a team, served nearly a decade on the ALC, and helped over 1,000 families locally achieve homeownership. She has experience with buyers, sellers, investors, commercial property, leasing their land, and distressed real estate. Stephanie was the recipient of the 20 Under 40 Award in 2017, a graduate of the Leadership Eugene Springfield program in 2021, and the winner of Registered Guard's Best Real Estate Agent Award in 2023. In her free time, she enjoys hanging out with her husband, Bronson, 1-year-old Arnie, and currently has welcomed her sweet little daughter into the world as well. So with that, I will let you take it away.
All right, thank you. Mara,
Yes.
before we do this, can you help me again
Yeah.
with getting the uh thing up on the screen?
Yep. So on the very bottom, there should be a share screen button right next to your participant button.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And you're going to select the first screen option it gives you.
Okay. One participant can share at a time. Right.
Yep.
Okay.
And then hit share.
Aha. Okay. Hmm.
And then that first box, you want to share your whole screen. So that way, if you do change screens at all, it'll follow you.
So the desktop one.
Yep.
Okay.
There
Okay.
we go.
And now,
We can see your 1,000 screens up and you can choose what you want to show us.
okay. Okay. Well, how do we do this? Okay, so then I need to get back to the PowerPoint thing that you would like up here, right?
Yes.
Okay. We're gonna do that. Okay, so the win with seller. This thing? Yeah, this thing. Here
Yep.
we go. Got it. Okay, thank
And
you.
if you do want it to be like in PowerPoint fashion, you can download and then it'll like go into the PowerPoint.
Okay, got it, got it.
That, or
Thank
you
you.
can scroll through like that.
Huh?
Or you can scroll through like this, either way.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Well, thank you everybody for being here today. I'm really excited to get to teach again and really glad that Mara gives me these opportunities. So, I guess yes, so with what Mara has shared, I have been in the business for quite some time. And do really love what I do and have a real passion for real estate. So, I think the first thing that we'll talk about today is going over our win with seller. And so, with that, I think the topics that we're going to cover are basically how do you identify a seller? And while that seems like it's a pretty easy question, I think what we're going to really talk about is how do you identify somebody that's ready to do business versus somebody that is maybe not ready to do business, if you know what I mean. And trying to figure out who is motivated because that's certainly who you want to be spending the most of your time with. Once you find a motivated seller, then what do you do with them? And so we'll kind of talk about how you might navigate through the process of, kind of starting from even before you get to the listing appointment, some of the preparation that you might do, some of the types of materials and marketing and what have you that you might have prepared ahead of time for that. And then after you get to the appointment, then what do you do there to land the appointment? And then obviously make sure that you provide really great service to that seller to make them a raving fan. So, first thing that we will go over is basically how do you identify an A seller? And so I know that the material here kind of talks about an A seller and how do you see who's an a B, or a C person. So an A person pretty much is somebody that's ready to do business right now or within, like, let's say 1 month, right? Like they are a seller that is okay, we're ready to sell the house now. We need to be moved by a certain date or time. There's something going on in their life that is promoting them to have to make a move now or in the very near future. And so what I have certainly experienced in the last little bit with those types of people are, either there is you know, like a deadline of there's a new baby coming maybe, or perhaps they're getting married, or maybe somebody passed away and they have to get the house on the market right away because they're dealing with, you know, the probate attorney or what have you, and they've got some deadlines, some hard and fast deadlines that they have to adhere to. So that is an A seller, somebody that has the motivation and a reason to do business and have a transaction right now or in the very near future. A B seller would be somebody that, you know, maybe they do want to sell. Yes, we do have this life event or something coming up, or yes, the house is getting too small because, you know, we have a growing family. So yes, we do need to buy another house, but we're not really that motivated to do that. Or, you know, it's maybe not somebody that they kind of need to do something, but there's not really like a deadline. And then a C, Georgia, well, I'm very happy that you found people that want to do something in the next year. That's probably who you'd consider a C type of a seller. Like they are going to do something, they do want to do something, there's a reason to do something, but they're not necessarily motivated to do it like right now. So we still want to stay in contact with those people, obviously, and we still want to make sure that we do get that business at the time, you know, that they're ready to do business, but it's probably not going to be right now, and it's not going to be in the near future. So that's kind of how we categorize those people. So with like an A person, they are qualified, they're ready to go right now, and per the material here, it says within the next 14 days. I would say, you know, yeah, if they're ready in like the next month or so, I'd call them A sellers. The other thing that I would also just like say is I have a whole bunch of sellers, probably about 9 of them, that we've been getting ready to list their property. And many of them have told me, okay, we're ready to go, we're ready to go. And then it has literally taken 2 months for them to get their act together, whether that be because they couldn't, you know, they didn't get their estate sale done in time, or the cleaners didn't come in time, or whatever the case may be. I still consider all those people A sellers just because they weren't ready to do business in 14 days. They did have some motivating factor that is causing them to do business now. And so I think that's really kind of it, maybe less of a question of is it within the 14 days, and more of the question of is there something actually motivating this person to have to do something. And I think that's where you find the motivated people, and that's certainly where you want to spend the most of your time and get in front of those people. So next, see if Mara can help me here. Um, I think that the next thing that we want to talk about too is like why we'd want to work with listings. So with the MREA, and I don't know how many of you have actually read the MREA book, but Gary talks about listings, leads, and leverage, right? So there's that little triangle, and it talks about those 3 things. So if you have listings, if you think about the amount of time that it takes to actually service a listing, you know, with a listing, you know, you're probably going to you're going to go out to the property. So that might be like an hour appointment. After you do that, you're going to prepare your market analysis report. So you're probably looking like another hour or so. Maybe you're going to do a couple open houses, but theoretically, if you have priced that listing right, it's going to sell within the first, you know, couple weeks to a month. So the actual amount of time that you're going to spend working on a listing might be maybe 6 to 10 hours, right? All when it's all said and done. And you're going to make your 2.5 to 3% when you've been working for those, you know, 6 to 10 hours. With a buyer, especially in the market that we are in and the market that we've been in, I mean, my goodness sakes, you might work with that buyer 60 hours, right? Because you're going to have to leave the house, go show them a house. Oh, we want to see 2 more houses, right? So every time you go meet that client, you're probably spending at least an hour or 2 hours with them. And then with as competitive as a market we've been in, you maybe are writing a couple of offers for each buyer until they're able to get an offer accepted. So you're essentially going to make the exact same amount of money, your 2.5 or your 3%, but with a buyer, you're going to end up spending, you know, 60 plus hours to assist that client versus a seller, you're maybe going to spend like 6 to 10 hours. So your dollar productive activity is always going to be working with sellers, not working with buyers. Now, I think you should work with buyers. I don't think it's a bad idea. idea. But I think especially like when you're starting out, the more listings you can get, the more you're able to leverage your time. And then also the last little bit on that triangle says leads. And why does it say leads? Because with every listing that you have, if you are properly marketing that listing, it should yield you another listing and another buyer. And why is that? Because typically if you have a listing, you're going to have people that call you directly, right? And so when they call you directly, they're calling you directly probably for one or two reasons. Either because they're also a seller and they own a house nearby and they want to understand the market and they'd like to understand how you got your price on this listing, because truly they're actually thinking about selling their own house, or they're a buyer. They want to either buy your listing. 9 times out of 10, when they come look at your listing, they don't actually buy your listing, but they are a buyer and they are going to buy something else, right? And so your listing, you kind of have to think of it as it's kind of like bait, right? That you're throwing out there, and that's going to then get you more clients, whether it be listings or buyers. And then the key phrase in that Gary says is properly marketed, right? So if you have a listing, but you're not really doing much with it and you're not, getting it out there enough, then you're probably not going to get another buyer or seller. But if you utilize that and you just exploit that listing, right, and use that as a way to promote yourself as a real estate agent, but then also promote your listing, of course, then you always are going to get more business out of that. And with listings, like, yes, your goal is to sell the listing 100%, and we want you to do that. However, if you think about with a listing, you have so many different opportunities to market that, right? So, and I'm going to talk about it from the stance on like social media, let's say, because that's kind of where everybody, is always looking. So with social media, when you list that property, you're able to do a big just listed post, right? I just listed this property, share all the photos, maybe share the link to the Matterport that you did, or the video that you did, or maybe you're one of those that are going to do a video of you actually walking through the property. And so you're going to have an opportunity to promote it there. Then let's say you do an open house a week later. Well, then you're able to promote your listing again in the open house, right? And then maybe you do a price reduction. So there again, you're able to talk more about your listing. So instead of you going on social media and saying, "Hi, I'm a real estate agent," nobody cares, right? You're able to like bring this listing, right? And it's pretty pictures, and maybe you're going to talk about a unique feature of the property, but it's something that's going to engage your audience. And not only is it going to engage your audience in potentially that house, but it's also reminding everybody in your sphere of influence that you're a real estate agent. And you don't have to say that message by just saying, "Hi, I'm a realtor," because no one cares, right? But if you're able to say, "Hey, here's this great house. I just listed it. It's in Ferry Street Bridge," or, "Hey, here's this house and it has this, really neat dumbwaiter feature." I don't know, right? If you're able to kind of talk about unique and cool things, that's what's going to get the gears turning amongst the people that are in your sphere of influence, that are always watching kind of what you're doing on social media. So leads, listings, leverage. So that's kind of how that little triangle all works together. So I think by and large, like that's really what you want to focus on. And just like a side note for me, I have been doing this for 18 years. And I do have a lot of, you know, past clients and big clientele built up. And so that's been fantastic. The last year, I have had two children. I have a 15-month-old Arnold, and then I just had a baby 8 weeks ago. And so I'm like kind of busy at home with the babies. And so it has been really great for me to have lots of listings and have a really listing heavy business, because it's really given me the opportunity to be able to be home, especially, right after I had both of them really, and not necessarily have to be out showing buyers houses, because with a listing, I'm really able to control my time. And so, especially right after I had, well, really both of them, you are up all night, every 2 hours, you're feeding you never know when they're going to sleep. So it was really, really nice for me to be able to say, "Okay, cool. I'm going to have a listing appointment on this day at this time, and I can plan my schedule with my clients in such a way that it's not going to disrupt my family." So whether you are crazy enough to have two children under 15 months, or you have other things going on, or maybe in some of your cases you actually have other 9 to 5 jobs, that could be, if you have a listing heavy business, then you're really able to kind of plan what you need to do for real estate on your schedule, and have it not interrupt whatever else that, is also important to you and taking up your time. So for me, that's been great. Still work with buyers, but I will tell you it is a little bit harder to take two small children to show houses with you than it was one, and certainly much harder than it was before I had them. So good little side note there. With listing opportunities also, I think that you also get a really great opportunity to learn the market, and then kind of also have an opportunity to learn more about what things are selling price per square foot wise, and just have a better grasp on what's going on in the market there. So I'm going to go ahead and go share my screen because they've got a nice little graph here about that. Let's see. Okay. Where did we go? Okay, here we are. Can you guys see my screen? Yes. Okay, we see the graph. Good. Okay, cool. All right. So we talked about virtues of seller listings. So means more marketing opportunities. Yes, it does. You can control your time. You can maximize your per hour compensation. So yes, absolutely. Like I said, especially at where I'm at with two little kids, it's really nice that I can kind of maximize and choose where I'm spending my time. And then volume, you can do a lot more volume with listings. Like right now, I think I have like 9 or something active listings. I'm not sure. Anyway, it would be very hard for me to work with the same amount of buyers, right? Because they would be wanting to have me show them houses all day, every day. And that would be kind of harder for me right now, especially having two little ones. But really, no matter what it is that you're doing, if you have a second job or something like that, it's probably going to be way harder for you to juggle 9 really active buyers that have to buy a house right now than it would be to juggle 9 sellers, right? Because you can kind of, group your activities together that way. And then you are on the front end of pricing. We'll go over that. And then, yep, I did say properly marketed listings. And again, properly marketed bring you more business. So once you get the listing, here is kind of your 7-step service cycle. So 1, you're going to convert the lead. 2, you'll have your pre-listing, then your consultation, your services and marketing. Hopefully you get an offer that you can then negotiate, contract to close, and then all of your post-close systems. So we will kind of dive into those things all in more detail. But before we get started on that, are there any ahas or any questions?
I'll just share my aha is that you're going to spend a lot less time on listings and get more, I guess, bang for your buck. So
Yeah,
that's my big takeaway right now.
Yes, good takeaway. Good. Okay. Well, good. That's a great takeaway. Okay, so now we're gonna go through kind of like the system of, get the appointment, and then kind of where we go from there. So first of all, converting your A seller. So respond right away to inquiries, get valid and complete contact information, and determine their motivation to sell so you can speak to it, set an appointment, and then you want to do that as soon as possible. So I guess what I'll go over, and I tend to just kind of go off script here a little bit. But first of all, respond to inquiries right away. Okay, so it's always speed to lead. So if this is somebody that that knows you from your sphere of influence that is calling you, probably they are going to wait for you to call them back, right? Because they probably want to do business with you. Now, if this is an internet lead or a Zillow lead, like you literally have about less than 5 minutes to call that person back or respond. I am dead serious, because what they're looking for is they're looking for quick, instant information, instant feedback, and instant appointments, right? And I think you have to think about like our culture. Our culture is so designed at this point to where you just get everything on demand. Whether that is you're ordering your groceries from Instacart, I expect that Costco order is going to show up at my door in 2 hours, right? Or I expect, you know, my Grubhub's going to be here right away. We have all these expectations as a society now, and so just kind of put yourself in the mindset of that consumer. Is that with everything else in the world, like it is immediate, right? And so it kind of has to be that way with you too. And I recognize that can be really difficult sometimes to be that responsive, but I will say it will be absolutely in your best interest to at least respond or have an auto something that's going to capture that lead, because otherwise, if you don't know them, they will move on to somebody else. And it also kind of speaks to their motivation, right? Like if they are a lead that is willing to sit there and get stale, then they're obviously not that motivated, because if they were, they would have also wanted information right away. Especially when you're new, you don't really have like, you know, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn here or anything, but like I've got a bunch of clients that like they want to work with me because they know I have almost 20 years of experience, right? So they're paying me for that experience. If you're brand new, you don't have that. So anybody can open a door. So there's nothing necessarily that sets you apart yet at this point, and you don't necessarily have all that experience to draw from. So I think I might be able to have the luxury of making people wait a little bit longer. When I was brand new, absolutely not. I needed to answer that phone immediately. I don't care if it is Easter Sunday, what is going on right now. You better get on that lead or they will go elsewhere. So it is going to take, you know, a lot of being out of balance right now in order for you to build a business at a really high level. So I would just kind of remember that. So speed to lead, respond right away. Get valid and complete contact information. So, I would take this a step further, and this is kind of what I did when I built my business. So, yes, you want to get obviously the information of whomever it is that you're speaking with. When I am talking to, as we'll talk about it from the perspective of a seller, right? So, if they're calling me up and they have a house to sell, which we'll just take this analogy here, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to immediately look them up in county records. And so, I'm going to do that for a couple of reasons. Number one, I obviously want to familiarize myself with the property, but I also want to figure out who do I need to be talking to. So let's say I receive a call from, you know, one spouse, and I pull up county record and I find, oh, there's another person here that appears to be on title. Well, whenever we set up that appointment, I need both of them to be in that room because a couple reasons. Number one, clearly they both own the house, so they both need to make a decision on this property. But secondly, I don't want to go give my presentation to Mr. Seller and then find out Mrs. Seller has somebody else in mind that they want to use, or, he gives the information I gave him to her, and it's kind of like playing telephone, right? Things are going to get, probably not given the information to her correctly. And so I really want to make sure that I am in front of both decision makers, at that initial appointment. The other reason, and this is kind of getting in the weeds here a little bit, but, sometimes you find that there's other people on title that are going to be important for you to know about, but maybe you can't meet with them because they are deceased, right? Or because they're divorced, or because they live in another state, or who knows, right? But going into this, you want to understand like the situation and also understand how to best service that listing, and set things up for them from the get-go. So, like I give this example when I teach this class a lot, but like let's say in the with somebody that might be deceased, right? So let's say one person calls me up and, hey, I need to sell the house. Oh, okay, great. And, get their information. I look up, who they are and who's on title, and I see there's another name there. So I ask about that person and find out that they in fact passed away. So obviously I'm not giving my listing presentation to that party. And the other thing that's going to be more important is that party's not going to be available to sign all of the documents, right? Because they're dead. So I do think it's important from the get-go at this point to kind of tailor that into your presentation to let the seller that is living know that, okay, I'm really sorry that, you lost your spouse or whatnot. When we get to closing, you are going to have the original death certificate, available for the title company to be able to go ahead and close the transaction. And I tell this story sometimes, but I had a situation like this many years ago. There was like 5 kids. And I was working with one who was kind of like the primary one dealing with things. And anyway, it had taken a really long time to sell the house. Finally got the house sold. And they needed to have the original death certificate. Well, he thought that his sister had it. She didn't have it. Somebody else thought somebody else had it. They didn't have it. So anyway, we're like a week from closing, and they had to contact the Department of Human Services in order to get another replacement original death certificate, because the title company cannot record without an original. And so anyway, it held everything up. And had I known to ask that question at the very beginning of that transaction, it would have gone smoother, it would have closed on time. And I also wouldn't have kind of created this whole issue with my seller at the 11th hour that we have to now contact, DHS to get this certificate. They said, sorry, it's going to be 6 weeks. Like, it held everything up, right? So I always want to like kind of figure out who do I need to be talking to? What's the situation with that person? And then just make sure that we're all on the same page. Another issue that has come up, and another reason why you want to be really clear about who you're dealing with here, is I've had situations where there's been a divorce that has occurred. And so a lot of times people think with the divorce decree, if one spouse was awarded the house, that automatically makes them the owner of the property. Well, funny story, unless you went down to the county and you recorded a new deed with that person in title, they don't actually own it all by themselves. So when it comes time to sell that property, you do have to have both parties sign off on that. And so it's going to be really important up front to, again, have that conversation and find out, okay, well, it looks like you bought this property with, so-and-so. Oh yeah, I got it in the divorce. Okay, well, they're still on title or they're still on the loan, unless they refinance that person off, they still have to sign all of the documents and at closing. So again, if you have an estranged spouse, it's going to be kind of important that you figure out who they are and maybe where they are now versus 2 months from now when you have to find them and they're elsewhere. So
Stephanie,
yeah.
quick question. So
Yes.
you were saying pull from county records.
Mhm.
I live in Washington County, Portland Metro. What would
Okay.
the procedure look like to pull up the information regarding someone?
Okay, so a couple things. So I'll give you two options. So because I'm in Eugene. So down here in Lane County, we use RLID, so Regional Land Information Database. And so anybody that is in like the Eugene area or Lane County, that would be what I would recommend you utilizing here. If you are elsewhere, a couple things you can do. So number one, if you're like in RMLS, and I think I can pull this up here. So can you see my screen? So, okay, so here's a listing, and if I pull this up, now you can see where you see like the tax ID number. So if you just click on that, then that's going to pull up who is the legal owner of that property. So that is probably, one way to do that. What I would also recommend doing though, is through one of your title companies, you probably have like My First AM. First American Title, I'll show you here. They have kind of a similar program. Let me show you. And so you can pull up kind of all of the county records information via this. This one's actually, My First American has a cool one because you can actually get stuff all over the US. So not that like you need to do that, but there have been times whenever I have maybe wanted to look into somebody that claims they have a residence elsewhere, or I need to show, proof of that property or something. So anyway, so that can be kind of helpful. Apparently it's not going to load, but I would check like My First AM. You can always do it on the RMLS through the tax ID number, like I just showed you. Or I would maybe check with your office and see if they have an equivalent of RLID, because I'm sure Washington County does. I just don't know what it would be. So hope that helps. Okay. Okay, so figured out valid contact information and also why you need to figure out who is on title and who you need to be talking to. Determine their motivation to sell so you can speak to it. Okay, so that's important. So again, back to like where we're deciding, are you an A seller, a B seller, or a C seller? So we want to just figure out who we're talking to. We want to talk to all of them, right? And the C sellers just they're great. They're not going to do business today. So I think figuring out like, okay, why are we selling here? Now, sometimes it's, well, we really want to get moved because, the new baby's due in December. We really want to get, set up and kind of get into the new house by then. Okay. So then if baby's due in December, you probably want to be at least moved in by November, right? Well, yeah, we do. Okay, great. So then moving backwards from there, you can kind of figure out, okay, so it's taking on average homes in your area 35 days to sell. So if you want to be somewhere by November 1st, we probably have to have your home on the market by like August 1st. So it sells by September 1st so that it'll close by like October, right? So you can kind of see where I'm moving backwards to help them figure out like when do we have to list in order to get you where you want to be by your goal time? Sometimes, especially in this market, I have been seeing people that have like a foreclosure that is looming, right? Or they have some sort of financial distress, or perhaps somebody passed away. And so they're making a house payment for the decedent and they can really not afford to do it for very many months. So in that situation, you want to get really clear about like, okay, well, what kind of deadlines are we really working with here? And so like if you've got a foreclosure date that's coming up, like obviously you need to understand when is that date, and then try to make sure that you get obviously the property sold well in advance of before the bank, repossesses the home. And then also sometimes like, maybe it's a job transfer and they have to get, to the new state or the new city by a certain time, in order for them to begin that job. And so they really need to have the home sold by, this date and time. And then it might also be going over with them, well, what if it didn't sell by that date and time? Are you thinking about renting it? Because that's going to help you to understand as their agent, like, okay, if I don't get this thing sold, like I'm going to lose this listing because they are absolutely going to rent it, or, their sister's going to move into it, or whatever the case may be, right? So it's really important to kind of nail down why are we selling? And don't be afraid to ask questions. Like, I think that the most important thing we can do is just shut up and let them talk. Because you need to know. If you just say, okay, cool, why are you guys moving? Where are you guys going to? Oh, okay, cool, when you need to be there. I mean, just ask some leading questions and you will be amazed how much people will tell you about their situation. And then I think that you can then do your presentation in such a way that it's tailored to, fit their needs, but also help them to understand that like you listen to what they had to say, and you really do care about making sure that they meet their goal and get to wherever they need to go on time. Set the appointment, date and time for as soon as possible and send the pre-listing packet. So yes, absolutely set that appointment like as soon as you can. And I think again, back to number one, speed to lead, right? Like not only should you respond right away, but you want to set that appointment right away because the sooner you can get in there and you can interview with them, the less likely it's going to be that they will actually call somebody else. There have been times where I have had people interview multiple agents, and don't quote me on the statistics here, but I think it's honestly less than like 5% of sellers actually interview more than one agent. So usually if you have been called and you get your foot in the door and you get that appointment, you're gonna get that listing, because most people actually don't interview more than one person. Now, sometimes they do. So frankly, you never really know, right? And I would say when you're newer, there's probably more chance that they are maybe going to talk to, somebody else, too. So I think as the soonest that you can get in there and show up, that's going to demonstrate to them like, okay, they're on the ball. Like I called them, they were here the next day. They did their homework, they were ready to go. And that's going to just basically help them to see that your motivation matches theirs. And I think you're going to be way more likely to get the listing that way than if you put it off. Now, if they give you a kind of wishy-washy answer, well, yeah, I don't know if we can meet this week. Maybe we can meet next week. Like, do not be afraid to follow up, because if you don't, I guarantee you somebody else will, and somebody else will take that business from you. So always call them and just be relentless in your quest to get in the door and get that appointment set. Otherwise, you will lose that listing. What do they want most from their agent? Okay, what does it say? So we have got help to price the home competitively. Help the seller market the home to potential buyers. Okay, 20% want that. Help sell the home within a specific time frame. 16% want that. And then help the seller find ways to fix up the home or sell it for more. And then the last is other. What do I think they want? I mean, I really think that they just want an advocate for whatever it is that they're trying to accomplish, right? So if they tell you like, we really need to be, moved to this state or this city by this date and time, because we've got, my new job is starting or whatever the case may be. Like, I think they just really want somebody to listen to them and make sure that they get there, They say that there's 3 of the most stressful things in life are death, divorce, and moving. And so unfortunately, we deal with people during one of those things. The sad part is a lot of times we're dealing with them when they're doing like 2 out of 3, right? So people are really stressed out whenever they meet with us, right? Because moving is stressful, even if it's going to be for a happy reason. It's really stressful if you're doing it because, death or divorce too. So I think that people just really, if you go in and you're genuine and you're caring and you truly, want to do your best to help them achieve their goal, I think that nothing else really matters as long as they feel like you're there to hold their hand and get them, to where they need to be. And then obviously we'll talk about how to, meet all of these other needs on this graph, like pricing competitively and helping finding ways to spruce things up. But build confidence and trust. Yes, I think that's important. Closing tactics. Okay, so I don't necessarily use these types of tactics. I think that there is a time and place for them. So I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on them, but some people will talk about the take back close or, the using tie downs. And so a lot of that is, neuro-linguistic programming. And so you'll probably learn a lot about this in the coursework that you'll have here, but it's basically it talks about the inflection in your voice. So, you want to, when you're doing that in scripts and stuff, you'll talk about saying list with me, right? And if you do it in such a way that when you're enunciating those words, you're going list with me, then what you're doing is you're embedding that command in your script that you're giving them. Again, I don't do any of that crap because I just don't. I'm just a genuine person. I show up, I find out what they need, and then I help them get there. But these are also sales tactics that probably are going to work better on people that you don't know. If that's if you're going after for sale by owners or expireds or other types of listings. Honestly, not that this stuff isn't useful. I think it is. I just don't, I just kind of show up. I'm myself. I want to hear what they need and then figure out how to help them. So the one thing that I will sometimes maybe use here, and I don't mean to do it in a salesy backhanded way or anything, but kind of the take back close, okay, well, what happens if you don't get the house sold? Because sometimes it just puts their headspace in this other mindset where they're like, well, crap. Yeah, I mean, I'd have to make 2 house payments. Oh my gosh, I can't do that. Or, and so then sometimes that'll help them, be motivated. And I guess where that's going to be useful is let's say, I think right now we're in a market where houses are selling for less, right? They're sitting on the market longer, they're selling for less, or people are getting offers that are including a lot of concessions towards closing costs. And so sometimes I get sellers that kind of get really irritated about that, and they don't want to take that offer that came in 20,000 low. And so sometimes a take back close can be helpful in that scenario, because you're able to say, well, okay, if we don't work with this buyer, then where does that leave us? And so it helps them to kind of just mentally go through the motions of well, crap, I know the offer's low, it's 20 grand low. I could sell to this buyer and then I would be done in 30 days and then I wouldn't have to make another house payment. But dang, if I don't, then I'm probably going to have to drop the price anyway. And if I drop it 10,000, well, then I'm still going to have to make another payment and another payment. My payment's $2,000 a month. So how soon until I've actually already paid, the 20,000 low that I would be just accepting with this offer? Well, so sometimes if you help them to kind of take the emotion out of it and ask them a question like that, it helps to invoke a little bit more logic in their thinking, to when it helps them be like, oh, you know what? I know it's 20 grand, but really in the scheme of things, I mean, I'm going to lose that money anyway if I don't take this offer, right? Because frankly, I don't know when I'm going to get another one. And I'm able as their agent to also go to them and say, like, listen, we have this offer. We've had X amount of showings. None of those people have made you offers. So the likelihood of you getting another offer is kind of slim at this point. And frankly, if we don't get another offer in the next week, I would recommend you drop the price probably to pretty close to where the offer has come in at. So if you help them to kind of reframe, what's going on and take it from the emotion of, I can't believe I got this low offer, I'm not going to sell for that, to, all right, well, what does this really mean? Like, if we took this, like, where does this leave us versus where are we? Then I think some of these tactics can be helpful. I definitely I don't use them, just in my day-to-day practice, but, I think they can be somewhat helpful. So, questions versus objections. So when a question is asked, answer it. And when an objection comes up, address it. So one thing that I would probably say about this is the definition of a professional is somebody that knows what they know and knows what they don't, and they know the difference between the two, right? So especially when you're new, if somebody asks you a question and you kind of don't really know the answer, I wouldn't BS your way through it. I would just tell them, I really don't know, but I have Mara, or I have Stephanie, or I have somebody in my office I can ask. Let me find out, right? I think the last thing you want to do is, give them an answer if you kind of don't really actually know the answer to that question. And I think it's going to be a great opportunity for you to, learn. I mean, again, I've been doing this 18 plus years. Things come up that I have not encountered before. And so even somebody like me that's kind of a veteran at this, there'll be new situations, and I kind of think they're fun, because I get to kind of, nerd out and learn new things about things. Something that happened to me the last couple months is I had a transaction, and they had kind of the former owner had gotten sideways with the county with some compliance issues on a property. Long story short, the county had fined the former owner $900 per day because they were out of compliance. So we get to closing, and my seller, who was not the seller that had the compliance issue, had a lien in the amount of $186,000, which actually exceeded our sales price. So it was a bad day, right? So anyway, we had to get attorneys involved and kind of negotiate this lien, and we got it down from 186 to 25,000. So that was a win, right? But anyway, I hadn't run into that in my 18 years. So so in that situation, I mean, I was able to kind of give my seller some advice, but I also was like, look, man, I don't know, like, never really been down this path, but but I do know who to call, and I do know where I can, make some phone calls and try to get us some answers to get us out of this pickle. And we did, so that was good. But I think what they're getting at here too is like, don't make stuff up if you don't really know. And don't be afraid to say, look, I'm new, I don't know. I think that you get way more respect for doing that than you do for making something up. And then when they have an objection, I think it's just better to hit it head on. I think one of the big ones that's going to come up is going to be commission always, right? And so I think it's better to just, hit that head on versus dance around it. And I think that they respect you for doing that. And I think like we are sometimes nervous, especially when we're new, right? About like our new profession here and how to give advice. And maybe, if I may, like, think about it if you were going to the doctor, right? If your doctor didn't hit you with objections head on, you probably wouldn't have too much confidence in them as a doctor, right? Like, you, in times of uncertainty, people want to be told what to do. They want to be told answers. So don't be a wishy-washy agent that really, I'm just not really sure. I don't really know. Like, go in there with confidence, do your research so that you are confident, and then be able to deliver, hard and fast truth to your client, to help them, and hit those objections head on. Because I think the worst thing we can do for both parties really is just not be upfront with, what we're going to do, what the expectations are, what we're charging, what the market's doing. Because otherwise I think you just end up, house doesn't sell, everybody's mad, and then you're in a situation where you're like, crap, I wish I would have just been upfront. So that's my advice there. Okay, ahas, questions? No. Okay. Pre-listing packet. Okay. So I don't necessarily use one, but there's some really great ones on Command that you can customize. Or if you use Canva, Canva's got some really cool things in there. So I might recommend checking some stuff out in there. So what a lot of times in like your pre-listing packet, the things that you'll have in there might be things about like your process. Do you do staging? What do you charge? Do you pay for that, or does the seller pay for that? It says state your value. So, you might have something in your pre-listing packet about you and who you are as a person, and how, what your experience is like in real estate, and or what your experience has been previously in a different profession. You might talk about, what your plan of attack is with your listings. Like, do you list properties, keep them on the market for a certain period of time before you consider a price reduction? Like, what does that look like? So I guess I would think of it as kind of like your menu of services, information about yourself, and kind of how a roadmap for how this process is going to work if they decide to hire you. So with that, I think they're good to have, but I think you want to be really careful with this, because every situation with every client is going to be different. And so there's some people that so for instance, let's say that I showed up and I had a pre-listing packet and it talked about doing open houses, right? And it said, yeah, I'm going to do an open house the first weekend that we, have your house listed. I'm going to be doing an open house. And then when we do a price reduction, we're going to do one. Well, let's say my seller was like really adverse to open houses, right? Then probably by me dropping off my pre-listing presentation and telling them in writing that that is my intention, I may not get hired because of that simple fact, right? When really, if I hadn't have given them this literature and we just had a face-to-face conversation, and I was like, yeah, well, if you want an open house, I'm happy to do those. And if they said, no, I don't, then I could have been like, okay, well, then that's totally fine, right? Versus I dropped something off to them that said, this is what I'm going to do. So now they're afraid that that's, what they have to sign up for if they hire me. So I'm really careful about, what I put in there. I would put things in there that are going to be true in all situations. So in all situations, this is my name, this is my experience, these are some of the awards I've won, this is the region I work in, but I'd be really careful about making it like a one size fits all for all listings, because that's just simply not the case, right? And then also, depending on the listing that you're interviewing for, like I'm getting ready to list a hog farm that's 70 acres, and so my presentation for that dang well better be different than my presentation for a cute little starter home in town, right? Because these are two different types of buyers that are going to buy these properties. So again, I think you just want to understand your audience, understand the property, and just make sure that you're like just meeting your seller and any client just where they're at, understand what it is that they want, understand what they don't want, and then just make sure that you can have a deliverable in such a way that's going to work for both of you. So I'd be cautious with that. The other thing, back to the pre-listing packet and knowing who your seller is. I have had situations before where one party has called me up because they're planning to divorce the other party and they just want to know what the house is worth, right? So don't show up with balloons and flyers in your pre-listing packet if they haven't, delivered the news to their other spouse that this is the road they're going down. So just be careful, know your audience. Don't, and then, the other time where that could be a problem too is like if they're selling a rental property and they haven't told the tenants yet that they're selling, like just want to be real careful. Understand your audience. Don't get too excited about dropping off, your business cards and all your paraphernalia until you really understand the situation. If you go through the pre-listing packet, like again, they've got all this stuff in KW that you can customize. And again, like I said, Canva has got some really cool stuff in there too. I might highly recommend it if you're going to make one. Do I think you should make one? My advice is yes, I do think you should make one. And I would probably do it now because whenever you have been in the business a long time and you're really busy, you just don't have time for this kind of crap. So I would do it now. Well, you have the time and you don't have a bunch of clients and a bunch of, other things to work on. And I think it probably can help you too to really define like, what is my value? What types of services do I want to provide? But then again, I'd be real cautious about who you give it to and just really remember what's in that packet because you don't want to lose a client because you put something in there that's going to not be, what they want. Next, the listing appointment. So this is probably where I would go first. I kind of rather meet with them in person and feel them out before I drop off pre-listing information, again, for all the reasons I talked about. So at the listing appointment, number one, I want both decision makers there or as many there that need to be there because I don't want to have to give my presentation twice. And I also don't want the information I give one party to get filtered incorrectly to the other party. So I want to make sure that, we've have an even playing field here and everybody's hearing the same information. I think it's also important because as you're going over like your market analysis in person, you can kind of gauge their reaction and figure out like, okay, are they really happy with what I'm giving them or were they expecting a different number? And then kind of talking them through that process, right? So I want to be in front of them both, for that listing presentation. And I think, during the presentation, the other thing I see agents do, maybe not especially when they're new, but like I think sometimes they go through the program here and they think I have to have this big fancy listing presentation and I'm going to spend all my time on this presentation and it's going to be leather bound and it's going to be beautiful. That's cool. Nobody cares, right? Here's what they care about. They care about you. Are you going to be a good agent? Are you a good person? Do you care about their needs? And are you going to help them accomplish what they want to accomplish? If you drop off some fancy book, like that's nice, but really like, were you really meeting them where they needed to be met? Yeah, probably not. That was more about you and you looking fancy than it was about caring about their needs. So I would keep that at the center of everything that you do is like, I need to understand this person. I need to understand their needs. I need to understand where they need to go and why am I sitting in their living room right now? Because it is all about them and it is not about me. So have your presentation ready to go, but please understand, like, do not spend a lot of time on it. I think that you are more likely to lose a listing if you spend a lot of time talking about how great you are, because frankly, no one cares, right? They care about why they invited you to sit in their living room today. So, through that, I'm knowledgeable and caring. Yes, be caring. And the best agent for these clients. So here's your affirmation. Okay, they will appreciate my expertise and preparation and choose me to represent them as they sell their home. So I think the thing that I take out of that sentence is my expertise in preparation. So especially when I was brand new, I mean, I researched things like probably way more than I ever needed to, but I wanted to, I really truly cared and I wanted to understand what I was doing, but I also think that it helped to inspire a lot more confidence in my client whenever I showed up and I knew about, the house down the street that had actually sold 2 years ago, or, was able to, speak intelligently about another neighboring property that might be pending. And so even if it wasn't like, I felt like I always kind of went the extra mile so that I did have an expertise to draw from. Um, and I don't know if you guys do this now, but one thing that I found incredibly helpful, especially when I was new, was like going to broker tour. So on Wednesdays down in Eugene anyway, we have the broker tour, where any of the homes that are listed, they are on tour for the day. And I know up in Portland and other areas you have a broker tour. I don't know what day your guys' is on, but for me, if I was able to just go out and look at those homes, what it helped me to do was really familiarize myself with the inventory. And while maybe I didn't have a client for that home at the time I was walking through it, I can't tell you how many times I had a listing presentation, or I was working with a buyer and I was using a home that I had toured on broker tour as a comparable sale. And because I had walked through it, I was able to discern, oh, okay, well, you know what? I know that one sold for this amount, but guess what? I know it sold for that because it actually, you could smell the cat pee from the sidewalk, right? Well, that's all stuff that you can't necessarily see in the pictures or you can't see from reading about the home. But because I had gone on tour, I was able to say, oh, okay, well, yeah, I know on paper that house looks the same, but here's why it probably sold for a lot less. Or the thing I couldn't see in the picture was, there was a substation next to it, right? Well, okay, so that was another reason it sold for less. And so because I was able to kind of draw on a lot of the expertise from just like broker tours that I had gone on, I felt like I was a much better agent. And I also was way more confident too, because when you present your market analysis to your client and maybe let's say they have some questions about the comparable that you used or why you weighted this one heavily or more heavily than another one, if I had actually gone out and toured them all, then I felt like I really was able to confidently give them those answers versus if I hadn't really done my homework, I really kind of I don't know, right? So I think you know, all the work that you do now that seems insignificant, just know that it's going to pay off and you don't know when, but it will. And you'll be in a position where you're going to be a much better agent for somebody because you took the extra time to go do stuff today. So, okay, in command. So I think you guys probably use it. Update every stage of your relationship and transaction. So I actually do really enjoy using this platform that way because it really kind of helps me kind of keep track of, the clients and kind of where we're at with things. And also helps me to set reminders for myself to follow through, on when I need to follow up with them and that kind of thing. So I would recommend doing that. Listing walkthrough. Okay. So let's assume they've called, you've done your research, you've done your market analysis report, you did a lot of, additional research on the home or, things that they've done. And so you're ready to go. And so now you show up, you're here for the walkthrough. What do you want to do on the walkthrough? Well, I'll tell you, you don't want to talk. Just let your seller show you the dang house, okay? And I think you want to pay attention to what it is that they're pointing out to you and what's important to them. So like when you're going on the walkthrough now, I mean, a house is a commodity, right? Like there's just a price it's going to sell for, and there's things, that it's a price per square foot issue, right? It's just a math problem. But to a seller, it's their home and they've raised their family there. They've celebrated holidays. Like this is very sentimental to them. So you want to make sure that you are giving them the opportunity and the grace to show you their home and all the things about it that were really, really special to them. And a lot of the things they're going to point out to you really have no bearing on the price that, you're going to, ask for the house. The fact that there's a plum tree in the yard that they love so much really doesn't make their house worth anymore. But to them, this is a really important feature, right? So during this walkthrough, I'm always going to let them lead. Let them show me their home. Let them tell me, I do want to know about updates. I do want to know if there's been any issues or leaks or anything that they've had to repair. Obviously I want to see the floor plan. I want to, see what types of things we might need to address. But a lot of the things they're going to share with you are going to be, you know, real personal things that, again, like it really doesn't matter as far as the price of the home, but to them it really matters. So you want to give them that time to kind of give you this information. The other thing that I get to do during this process, which is going to help me for when we sit down, because usually I come in, okay, well, what do we do? Where do we start? And I'll say, well, why don't you go ahead and give me the tour? So they give me the tour of the home, and then this gives me an opportunity to see what they point out to me. And part of this is helping me to figure out what is their personality profile. So I'm sure you guys in your coursework here go over the DISC personality profile, the D, the I, the S, the C. So when they're giving me a tour, I'm able to pretty quickly figure out, well, who am I dealing with? And I want to know that right now because in about 20 minutes, I'm going to be sitting at their dining room table and we're going to be going over a presentation. And I want to make sure that I tailor that presentation to meet the person I am in front of. So if it's a high D, I want to make sure that I am in, I'm out, I'm quick, I give them their stats. Here's what I'm going to do. Here's the price it's going to sell for. Are you ready to go? Right? That's the D. If it's an I, then we're going to spend very little time sitting at that dining room table. We need to spend a lot of time looking at the house. I need to tell them how pretty it is, what a great job they've done, how much I love it, and how fun it looks, right? Because that's the I. If it's a S, they are scared to death about this move, right? So I am going to have to plan to be here a little bit longer because we're going to have to go over some things. And we're going to have to talk about, you know, a lot of the little minor details about them selling this house that probably are kind of insignificant, but to them it's everything, right? Because they are just so dang nervous about this whole process. So it's going to be a lot more hand-holding. If it's a C, again, I better be quick, but I also better be concise. So I had better done my research. I better have graphs, spreadsheets. I better know the average price per square foot, and I better understand, you know, what's going on with the market and be able to speak really intelligently because they're also going to quiz me on it. And so in this little walkthrough, yes, I care about what they're showing me, but I also am just trying to figure out, how do they show me their home? Does she show, if the eye is going to show me all the paint colors and how pretty everything is and how much she loves it and where she had this big party and, you know, all the stuff. The S, you know, they're going to be really nervous during this process. They are going to be so scared. They're not going to want, they're going to not understand how to show me their own house. Well, did you want to look in the closet? What do you think about that? They're very timid, right? The C, they are going to tell me the pitch of the roof, to what degree it's pitched, what type of architectural style shingle they have on there. They're going to be incredibly descriptive. Okay. The D is going to be like, yeah, I don't know. Why don't you go look at it and come find me? Okay. They don't want to spend time with me. Right. So that's what I'm looking for. So I want to figure out, who am I dealing with? What types of things are they going to show me here? And then that way, when we sit down, I'm able to give them a really great presentation that's going to make sure I get that listing. Now, in the walkthrough, I am going to be looking for, you know, are there any deficiencies in the home, any like leaks, anything that I think that they do need to correct with the home? Do we need to do some staging? Do we need to declutter? Do we need to clean it? So like, what do we need to do? And then from there, also be able to, in my presentation, when I sit down with them in 20 minutes, you know, kind of go over like, all right, well, here are the comparables. Here's what I think you can get. But, you know, if we, you know, cleaned the house, or we did some pressure washing, or we, you know, I don't know, painted this hideous room here, I think we can really get you some more money for the property. So those are also kind of the things that, you know, I want to go over during that time. So it helps them understand what to maximize. Handwritten thank you. I think those are important. I always send a thank you card after I'm done meeting with somebody. So I would do that. Listing agreement. So I always am going to have it prepared, and I'm going to bring it with me to the listing appointment. Because number one, hopefully they want to list with you today, right? But I think it's important to, you know, have it ready, because a lot of times people do want to sign right now. Like they want to get the show on the road, and you hope that they do. So you want to be prepared, and have everything ready to go. You know, the other thing too, this might be kind of psychological, but like, you could, if they're not ready to go, you could, you know, give them the property disclosures, right? And so sometimes if they've received paperwork from you and filled it out, in their mind, they are committed to using you, even though filling out the disclosures doesn't really make you their agent, but you know, if you showed up, you were prepared, you handed them something, I think that that shows them that, you know, you'd like to do business and you're a good agent. On the agreement, I usually come with a folder. I've got all the property tax information with me. I have a listing contract. I have all the disclosures. I have all of our KW disclosure forms that we're required to have when we do a listing. And what else do I bring? I obviously bring my market analysis report that we go over. And then with the listing agreement, usually I have everything like in RMLS basically like filled out as much as I can before I get there. So, you know, so I'm gonna have, you know, kind of all your general information. So like if I go into like my listing load here, um, so like in progress, we'll look at this one. So oh, here we go, loading. So like this is what I'm gonna do here pretty soon. So you can see I've got, you know, the address, I've got the street name, I've got the zoning, I've got the map information, all the tax lot stuff. You know, and then I've kind of at least like put together whatever I can for my description. Some things I'm not gonna be able to do, like I don't know the room sizes and stuff yet. So like obviously that'll be left blank, but I want to have basically just about everything done, so that when we sit down, we make a really productive use of all of our time. And I've got all my paperwork and everything right here organized and ready to go. So oh, where did we go here? Hold on. So that's usually what I bring is like the contract most of the way filled out. I have everything highlighted. I'm ready for them to sign right now. Now, sometimes they're not really ready, or I walk in and I'm like, oh my gosh, we have got a lot of work to do before we can get a photographer in here. And so if that's the case, then usually I will, okay, here's kind of what I'd recommend. I have, you know, cleaners, I've got carpet cleaners. I have kind of my like list of sort of preferred providers that I would recommend for a variety of these services. So I will usually, you know, help them figure out, okay, here's what we need to do before we can have it on the market. I oftentimes get pretty involved in this portion and help them schedule all this stuff too. So I really kind of do probably a lot of work on the front end, like getting them recommendations of estate sales, you know, people to do, you know, cleaning, window washing, pressure washing, you know, whatever it is that they need. So if I could make another recommendation to you guys, like if you don't already have those types of people, you know, that you have relationships with, I think it'd be a really great idea to kind of get a list together, of all those types of people that you know, you might need to refer. So, okay, ahas. Questions?
Okay, so the listing agreement that you bring, it's a paper copy. You said it's highlighted, or is it in the system?
You know, I am kind of old school, so yeah, it's a paper copy.
Awesome. And
Yeah.
then that RMLS thing that you brought up,
Yeah.
that's like you're getting ready to list it in RMLS. And are you looking at what's still left blank while you're sitting with the client and going over those details with them? Is that why you have that preloaded?
Yeah, so okay, so can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me show you here, because I guess this might be handy if you guys haven't like actually, if anybody of you haven't actually done this. But so yeah, so you go into RMLS and you get your listing all kind of like set up, right? So honestly, pretty self-explanatory as far as like, you know, picking descriptions of what, you know, what's your view? Well, this mountains and trees, right? And then features of the home. You know, I a lot of times I already looked at the property from when they bought it, you know, previously. So I have the old listing. So I can see, okay, yep, they did have a built-in dishwasher. Yes, there's a garage door opener. They have high-speed internet, right? So like I'm just gonna click stuff that like I know are gonna be applicable. There's could be some things, right, that they've done that I don't know about. Like maybe they did all new luxury vinyl plank floors. Like I didn't know about that. So that's blank. And then exterior, like there's just certain things I'll know. So then once you kind of fill this in to the best of your ability, then you can hit contract here. And so then it pulls up your contract. So then you do have to put in here, like what date it's going to go live, and then the expiration date, your brokerage fee, all this other stuff that you have in here. And then you're able to, save, hit finish later. And so then I could go in here, and then you hit print. And then it'll say include contract pages. Yes, create PDF. And so then, hold on, you'll have basically the PDF, which will include the listing contract, right? So you've got your whole contract here that you're going to have them sign, which I guess honestly, whether you do this in DocuSign or whether you do this in person, you still have to generate the same form.
And Stephanie,
Yes.
this is what I'm working on now. I'm only a couple weeks in, and
Okay.
I'm trying to understand my forms. And so I have the OREF form,
Mm-hmm.
but those are not the same as the RMLS is where you get right to sell. The contract forms, it's weird to me that there's like two different locations.
Yes.
And so I go into RMLS, I grab these and I can print them out or upload them into DocuSign.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, let me show you. Yeah, great question. Okay, so I'll finish on this one and then I'll kind of touch on your question too. So yeah, so basically you can print off, so you've got, your contract here, and then where they sign, and then you have the input form, right? So I sit with them and I go over this for a couple reasons. Number one, I want to make sure that whatever it is that I'm putting on MLS is honestly accurate, because you can actually get in a lot of trouble if you let's say you referred to the air conditioning unit as a central air conditioning unit, and it's actually a heat pump, two very different things, but people mix them up all the time. So I want to sit with my client and I want to make sure that we have everything ship shape and I have all my information absolutely correct. Or another kind of funny thing is let's say you didn't sit down with them and didn't ask questions about the refrigerator, right? Now they're planning to keep the refrigerator. Well, you saw a refrigerator in there, so you put it in the listing. Guess what? You just gave away their refrigerator, right? So these are all the little things that seem kind of insignificant, but really can kind of be big issues a month from now when you get an offer, right? So I want to make sure that everybody's on the same page about what's going, what's staying, and then also what we have to sell here. So I go over everything with them. Also by going over this, this is kind of dumb, but so square foot, this happens to me a lot. So square footage. So I'll be like, okay, so we have 2319 square feet per county record. Well, then sometimes they'll argue with me. No, it's not. It's 2,500 square feet. Oh, okay. And then I'll be able to pull out my county record information and say, well, it shows right here in our lid that it's 2319. Oh, it does? Well, yeah. Okay. Well, I swear it's 2,500. And then I'm able to say now, okay, well, if you think it is, here's what I can do. If you can find something either from county record or from an appraiser, or something like that shows us from a certified source that it is different, we can absolutely change this. But I'm required to put in here what is in county record. So why I'm telling you this is if I'm able to have this conversation with them in person up front, what I'm not going to have is I go back and I list it back at the office and then it shows up on Zillow and they absolutely pop a cork because they're like, oh my gosh, the square footage is wrong, right? So then they get really pissed off and then they call and scream at me when, I was probably correct. They just, sometimes being able to sit down, slowly go over everything, make sure everybody's on the same page before you publish anything, just stops them from having their freak out moment, when they were probably wrong. But they're going to take it out on you and the energy is always going to be directed towards the agent did something wrong, right? So you just want to make sure in this process, like, you know, we're on the same page before we go live. So that's kind of why I do this. There's some clients of mine that I do DocuSign with all day long, or if they're out of state, like obviously that's what we're going to do. But I usually do make them review all this just to make sure that I'm not, you know, inappropriately advertising some feature of their home, or also not including something too, because, you know, sometimes like in your description, honestly, nobody reads this crap, but we still have to write it, right? But, you know, your seller might say, well, you didn't mention, you know, the new roof. You didn't mention this. And to them, they just spent thousands of dollars on this new, you know, update or the new shed or whatever, right? It is really not that big of a deal. To them, it was like huge, right? So you just want to make sure to keep the listing, make your client happy, and just make sure that everybody is, you know, you make this feel like a partnership, right? Like it's always good to kind of go over that stuff, you know, up front. So, okay, so your question about the forms. Yes, it's very confusing. That is a new thing. We have always used the OREF forms, and then they have now changed them to make things very confusing for everybody. So, I do it this way because I'm gonna have to, I have to input it all this way anyway, but let me show you here. If you go into your zip forms, you can have a variety of different forms. So let's just go, we'll just do new listing. Sample. Okay. Oops. Okay. So residential. Okay. So then in my forms here, oopsie, move you guys over. So you have the different versions. So like for me, I have RMLS forms. I've got, you know, the Oregon real estate forms. So I can basically, you know, and then I have like some commercial ones, and I'm also a member of like Central Oregon, in Southern Oregon. So I mean, so I have several other libraries here to choose from, but, so yeah, if
Stephanie,
you
can I
want,
ask the group? So DocuSign came free with Keller Williams, but
Yeah.
Zip Forms does not. Is everybody signing up for Zip Forms anyway because it allows you to do this so much easier? Like, has anybody noticed that?
I don't know. I've heard several people say that we can also get zip forms for free somehow, but I haven't figured out how to do it yet.
Yeah, Stacy said that we could for a while and now it's not anymore. And she said she'd look into it for me, but she hasn't found any way to get it for free. So, and nobody else has found it for free, I'm assuming.
It does look simpler to use. I
Yeah,
am also
DocuSign is confusing. I love DocuSign. It's been easy for me in the past, but trying to gather all the forms and have them in one location like this and DocuSign doesn't let you print them out. Because I talked to them today to try to figure it out, and they said you can't print them out. Like you're saying, to bring a physical copy, you can't do that through DocuSign.
Actually, you can. I figured it out last week.
Okay.
So you're gonna have to create. It's a little bit of a funky solution, but if you create a sample room on DocuSign, bring in the document into that room, and then you can download that document. from there.
And then I can print it out. You're right. I've been trying to get that step. Okay. So you can still do that, but we don't have RMLS in DocuSign. Have you been able to import these into DocuSign at all into your rooms?
As far as I know, no. I think you can put the MLS ID, but it's not been working when I've tested it. So
Okay, so you still have your documents in two locations, but with zip forms, you can, Stephanie's saying you can put them all in one location.
I think you still need to fill out the
RMLS.
RMLS separately regardless of the platform, unless Zipform is able to integrate that. I'm not sure. Stephanie, maybe you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, Stephanie. I get
no, you're good.
all us new agents are getting lots and lots of high level, go get them. And then when I'm like, okay, I can do this, and then I sit down, I'm like, how do I get this to come over? How do I get this to fill out? Like
Right.
that step.
No, I totally get it. Well, and I think these questions are great because, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. So frankly, there might be a better way to do it these days. And I just have always been doing it this way. So I think it's good that you're asking those questions. So I mean, if you have zip forms, like, you know, so to your question, so I found the form library, so Oregon Realtors, so if you wanted to use those forms, listing agreement. And so then, you know, you can do this, and then I could pull up my listing agreement. And then, so it's basically going to be all the same information, right? I think for the listing stuff, to me, it makes more sense to do it in here, right? Because I have to input all this stuff into RMLS anyway. So, I think it makes more sense just to hit the, you know, print button and then boom, here's your PDF, versus doing it in here and then having to duplicate that effort by doing it also in zip forms or however else you're getting your forms. But I mean, whatever you want to do, I mean, obviously it's up to you. And so, yeah. And then, I mean, I guess, I think a lot of them are using this other version because it's free. I mean, again, I just always done it this way, so that's how I do it. But yeah, however you want to do it is good. So yeah, no wrong answer. I think the other thing too, just to think about. So they want you to have, if you're using the Oregon forms or the OREF forms, your entire transaction has to be in the same format, right? So if you start the transaction in OREF, you have to finish the transaction in such a way. So like, I always have people fill out their property disclosures up front, like when we list the property, like at the listing appointment, for a couple reasons, which we'll get into. But so if I started, so I tell you that, like, so if I started that in the Oregon Realtor forms, then that would kind of denote that the rest of the transaction also has to be in those same forms, right? Versus if I started it in the OREF, the opposite would apply. But like, I have them, so where are we at here? Seller's property disclosures. I know it's in here somewhere. Here we are. So I always have people fill these out, like at our listing appointment here. Where did we go? Because a lot of these questions, right? Like, do you have authority to sell the property? Do you have you know, boundary disputes? A lot of this stuff would be like really important for you as a listing agent to know about. And that way you could also kind of get ahead of any issues that may arise. So I usually do these with my client and I do it up front. So that way, it helps me to, you know, understand the property a little bit better, and also see if there's any other issues that maybe I should be helping them through. But then also that I'm prepared. So whenever we get an offer, you know, I have this, we're ready to go. It's not like I have to go bug them and go meet with them again. Because again, back to listings leads leverage, right? Time is a finite resource. So I want to use it really wisely. I want to have one meeting with them. That is what I want to do. I don't want to have to go back to them to chase paperwork, or, you know, and honestly, like, it makes the process, I think, for them a lot more cumbersome if you're constantly bombarding them with, oh, by the way, I need another signature, right? Like, I want to be organized and get everything to them right away. So that's kind of why I do this up front. And then the other thing too, with when I write offers for people, and then also like listings, like that listing contract, I mean, you know, it's lengthy. I would kind of rather sit here and go over it with them line by line up front, and just let's all talk about what we're signing. Let's talk about what the fees are. Let's talk about how do you get out of the deal? What if you decide not to sell? What are the implications there? I'd rather just have this conversation with them one time, because otherwise what happens is this is a stressful process. Let's say the house isn't selling and they want to take it off the market. They are going to sit up at night just ruminating about how stressed out they are. And that's when you, as the agent, get the upset text from your client at 10 o'clock, you know, or on the weekend when you're trying to enjoy time with your family or whatever, because they just can't take it anymore, right? Or if you would have just taken the time to have this conversation up front, right? Just take that hour, right? It's going to alleviate so much of the stress 2 months from now. And without fail, anytime that like I, you know, haven't done this with them up front, that's what happens. Like, they were not appropriately communicated with on the front end. And, you know, then that's kind of where things went sideways. So yeah. What other questions? Has something in the chat? No, I have not. Okay. Anything else? Nobody, nothing. Okay. All right. Does anybody have any listings right now that you need any help with, or how else can I be helpful today?
I have another question. So I know the best way to get buyer leads is often through open houses or the looky nosy neighbor that wants to list their house.
Yeah.
But is there other alternatives that you found to be great sources of seller leads, excluding your kind of sphere of influence and your buyer pool over time?
For like specifically seller leads?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I would say, okay, and I'm just trying to think about like if I'm new. So for sale by owners. So those are people that have raised their hand and they have said, I am trying to sell my house right now, right? So typically they are going to get really fed up with this process. I think a lot of times for sale by owners go into this thinking, well, it's really easy and I'm going to save the 3%, right? I'm not going to pay that money. So like and I know I've watched them do this, right? So they put their sign in the yard, they try to get it on Zillow, their pictures are terrible. They're personally out there doing their open house on the weekend, they're not getting any offers. And then they don't have a lockbox, right? So they have to personally meet people over there every time there's a showing, and they also don't know how to qualify the buyer that called them to see if you know, they are a qualified candidate or not. So they end up spinning their wheels, right? And they just get so frustrated. So I would call for sale by owners. And what I used to do when I was new is I would just say, you know, kind of the same thing as I mentioned with the broker tour, like, hi, I'm Stephanie with Keller Williams. I noticed your home is for sale. I just kind of want to take a look at it, you know, so I can, you know, be familiar with the property. I don't know that I have a buyer for you, but you know, I saw you put it up for sale by owner. I just would kind of like to see it, so I'm familiar. And so then they would, okay, yeah, sure. So I meet them over there, look at the house. And of course, my goal is to list your dang house. Like, I don't really care, right? But it helped me to familiarize myself with inventory, so that, you know, if I did have a buyer, I'd know about the property. But then also it gave me kind of my foot in the door. So when you call them, call them on Monday or Tuesday after they spent their entire freaking weekend sitting at the open house that no one came to, right? They baked their cookies, they got all ready to go, and nothing. And then they don't have an offer Monday and they're so discouraged. So that's when you hit them with, hey, how'd your open house go? Oh, it went bad. Oh, that's too bad. Well, you know, and then, you know, keep following up that way, right? And actually the first house I ever sold when I was 18, I was doing this, right? So I was calling it for sale by owners because that's what I was told to do it was called Camp 443 at the time, not Ignite, but same idea. And so I called one of them. It was on Northridge Way for sale by owner, did the walkthrough, did the follow-up stuff. Well, then like 2 months later, I had my first buyer, and shoot, we were looking for a house. We couldn't find a house. And I remembered this house, and it was like going to be the perfect house for her. Well, had I not done this, you know, for sale by owner walkthrough thing 2 months prior and followed up with this guy, then I wouldn't have known about this property. Anyway, I ended up selling it to her. And then flash forward like 6 months later, that seller actually referred me more business because we had this opportunity to work together for that transaction. So anyway, while it may seem like this is just not a productive use of my time to call for sale by owners and go walk through their homes when I don't have a buyer, I found that it became a very fruitful avenue for me. You know, and then also, again, when you're sitting with your client, like I said, after you do your broker tour, you're just familiarizing yourself with inventory. So whenever, you know, 6 months, a year from now, when you're talking to a different client about, you know, their property, you're able to bring up, you know, the for sale by owner, that guess what, probably isn't going to be included in your RMLS stats because they weren't a part of that. But yet that's another comparable that you're able to bring to the table. So for sale by owners, expireds, I would go into your MLS, I'd pull all your expireds or your canceled listings, and those are people that you could target because again, they've raised their hand, they said, I need to sell my my house. And so your script with that is figuring out, yeah, so you had it for sale. Are you still looking to sell? Well, yeah, we're still looking to sell. Oh, okay. And where would you go if you sold your house? Oh, well, we're trying to move to Vermont. Oh, well, what's in Vermont? Well, our grandkids are there. Oh, well, when are you trying to be there? Right. So you're just going to ask some questions, right? Drive them back to motivation. Why are you guys wanting to sell? When do you want to be there? And then see if you can get your foot in the door, get an appointment to do that. And just kind of be offering like, well, it looks like, you were on the market for this many days. I may have another solution or way to market your property. I think that we should talk, right? And see what you can do to follow up and get in with them. The other kinds of properties right now, like frankly, what is going on in our market, totally off script. Like the only people I have been working with in the last year are death, divorce, going into assisted living, or job transfer, right? Anybody that is sitting in their home right now and has a 3% interest rate, they are not selling their house because they're not going to trade that for a 7% interest rate unless there is a factor motivating them to do that, right? So the only people that are motivated to do business right now are people that have to. So expireds, canceled, for sale by owners, find them. The other group of people and segment that I would target would be, you could talk with like some probate attorneys. So if you're able to find people that are going through probate, those are going to be people that will have to do business. Divorce attorneys, that's going to be another great avenue. And when it's a divorce, you're going to probably sell a house and help them buy 2 more, right? So that's great. Or I guess job transfer, like there's relocation companies that you can kind of get your foot in the door with, and they will then refer the real estate agent to the client that has to do a relocation for their job. And oftentimes those are great clients because they're already employed, which is why they're moving, right? Because they're doing that for their job. So usually like those types of services would be another one. And then, I mean, I think sphere of influence is just going to be your last one. But then also if I know down here we have like our notice of default lists. So these are people that are going into foreclosure. They've missed a payment or two. If you really want to start targeting those people, that's another avenue, because ultimately they probably need a solution, and probably it's going to be selling their house. So those would be kind of maybe my other people I'd target if I was looking.
Thank you so much. That was really
Yeah.
useful information.
Sure. Yes. Anybody else? No? Anyone? Anyone? Okay. Well, I am totally here if anybody needs anything at all. You guys are going to do great. Thank you for being here today and giving me the opportunity to teach a class. It's always fun. And yeah, please don't hesitate to reach out if you need anything.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Bye.